After finishing my first video on why I love The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I began thinking how I have never played through its direct sequel, Majora's Mask. When the remake arrived on 3DS back in 2015, my interest in the game was renewed. Now, 21 years after the original Nintendo 64 release, this is my review of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Majora's Mask quickly separates itself from other Zelda titles by embracing a more ominous story and atmosphere. When I think about the Zelda series as a whole, what tends to come to mind are games that have an open-world concept with dungeons and side quests scattered around the overworld. You progress the story by acquiring different items and completing smaller quests that push the narrative forward. This is still the case in Majora's Mask, but the introduction of the 3-day time system is a departure from other games within the series and requires players to adapt how they go about spending their time within the world of Termina. I'll admit that I wasn't the biggest fan of the 3-day time system at first, as I have always enjoyed the freedom of being able to explore and take my time in previous Zelda titles. Throughout the game, Link must reset the time clock by using the Ocarina of Time to go back to the first day. Thankfully, all masks and major items that are collected during one 3-day cycle are kept whenever you reset the time clock. Will you attempt to complete the next dungeon, or will you work through a list of side quests before resetting time once again? If you allow time to expire on the third day, the moon will crash into the tower and any items collected or temples beat during the cycle will be lost. Despite my misgivings with the time system, this mechanic adds an extra layer of dread to an already dire plot. This element puts more weight on your decisions and makes you feel more invested in the story. The overall gameplay is largely the same as its prequel, The Ocarina of Time, but this game brings it to another level by introducing masks. The 3 main masks, when worn, allow Link to take the form of another being. After breaking the initial curse set by the Skull Kid, Link can transform into a Deku Scrub at will, and later obtains masks to take the form of a Goron and a Zora. Each of these masks introduce new gameplay elements when worn. Where these masks are most applicable is their corresponding dungeon. I will admit that I was not the biggest fan of the first few temples. Snowhead Temple and Great Bay Temple felt a bit convoluted, and with the time system, you might find yourself having to replay parts if you were unable to complete it within a single 3-day cycle. If you are able to obtain the main item, the replay will be shorter, but it can be quite deflating to have to come back and replay parts over again. Despite feeling a bit let down by the temples as a whole, Stone Tower Temple and the lead up to it is one of my favorite sections in all of Zelda. Ikana Canyon features 2 mini dungeons, the Well and the Ikana Castle. The Well is a clever maze of item fetching where you must travel back and forth in order to give specific gifts to the zombies guarding the doors. Ikana Castle also features puzzles and a mini-boss that makes use of your newly acquired mirror shield. Stone Tower Temple takes full advantage of the 3 main masks, and the dungeon layout is a puzzle in itself where you have to leave the temple in order to flip it so you can access new areas. To cap it all off, the main boss battle was one of the game's main highlights. The appearance of the Giant's Mask was unexpected and made it one of the more unique boss battles in the series. Using the Giant's Mask gave the fight an epic scope, and also added a bit of humor when thinking of young Link towering over the desert landscape. The final confrontation with Majora is a great 3-part battle that can be higher in difficulty if you did not spend much time focusing on gathering heart pieces and increasing your magic bar. Players who put in the effort of collecting all 24 masks found in-game are rewarded with the Fierce Deity Mask. This mask transforms Link into an adult warrior with a significant increase in strength and a sword beam ability. Link in Fierce Deity form can make short work of Majora, which may feel anticlimactic to some, but I also believe it is a worthy reward for putting in the time to seek out and collect all of the masks. Throughout my playthrough of this game, I found myself enjoying it more and more. While I did have some qualms regarding the time system and the first few dungeons, the build up to the conclusion was well executed and satisfying, knowing that I had manipulated time over and over again in order to save Termina. Koji Kondo followed up on the music of Ocarina of Time with another brilliant soundtrack that elevated the story and atmosphere. With this specific game not holding any nostalgia for me like the Ocarina of Time, I'm looking forward to discussing it with more people now that I have finally played it for myself. With all that being said, I'm giving Majora's Mask 3D a 9 out of 10. This unique entry in the Zelda franchise is another example of Nintendo not being afraid to take chances with one of its prized IPs. To everybody who's made it this far into the video, let me know your thoughts and experiences with Majora's Mask in the comments below.